Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Where does the Saints' job rank among the other openings right now?
I was thinking about that when this went down yesterday. I think in normal, I know that I think we have this, and maybe you're better to tell, Matt, locally when it comes to this. You asked me this, but on the surface, to me, it always looks like a great job. Fan base, they win, but then you say, okay, there's no Drew Brees, and now that Sean Payton's not there, and who's going to get the job, and how loaded when they come back, what do they plan on doing with Taysom Hill with the new coach? And I mean, how good are they? But I look at their defense and I say really good. And I don't know their salary cap situation right off the top of my head until the offseason gets to.
They're $60 million over the cap, but that's
I
every
year.
A
lot.
Yeah.
Right. But when we say that, I hear that for so many teams. Right. There's a way they manipulate it. So I don't know. When the offseason hits, we know about a month in. Okay, here's where they're headed towards the draft. But I actually think it's a good job. I mean, I love the Denver situation because they're loaded but a quarterback. The Giants and Bears got a quarterback with the front office. I mean, you can name something about all of them. Miami, there's a front office a little too shy to a guy who's got some power. I mean, everywhere there's something. But to me, it would be, I think the Vikings job's good. I love the Denver job, and the Saints job, unless I'm missing somebody, would be my top three jobs, unless the Raiders come open, and I'm a diehard Raider fan, so I think that's a good gig too. But I think it probably fits somewhere. It's not first, but it's not fifth. Does that make sense? Somewhere in the top three or four jobs, and probably better than we're talking. It's just kind of, I think we're all kind of all caught off guard.
Yeah.
Not that we shouldn't have prepared for this, but they were just like, okay, we're trying to figure out while we're still saying, well, who's going to hire who, and we're trying to figure out where it fits in. I actually think that it's a really good job that someone, whether it's Dennis Allen or somebody else, is going to love.
So that's kind of been the big question, right? I mean, Dennis Allen is the most obvious natural fit there. A lot of people today have mentioned Brian Flores, but Sean, I asked you the question about ranking the job because Brian Flores is going to be so in demand. Is the Saints job one that he would take, or is he a better fit somewhere else?
Well, to me, the fit is where he loves and who loves him. I get asked this question a lot, and I don't know if you and I have discussed this part of it. How would I pick a coach? Well, I pick a coach by, everybody says you'll get somebody come on the show and they'll say like an insider. Well, they like this, they like Flores, and they like Eberflus, and they like Dan Quinn, and I'll say, well, hang on one second. Okay, 5 girlfriends, you like one. I don't care about your side pieces. Who do you love? I do care about your side. You get my point, right?
Right.
If you go, who do you love? That's what I want to know. And I think there's people that are I think there's a lot more people. I think every job that's available, Brian Flores would be the top candidate for, maybe him or Dan Quinn. If, in fact, there wasn't this worry, and it seems like it's becoming, I don't know if rampant's the right word, but, well, we saw Bill O'Brien ruin a franchise. We saw what Urban Meyer did. We're getting to the point where these guys want too much power to the point where general manager loses his luster. You love the guy and he can coach, but the power struggle starts to disrupt, and the owner has a decision to make, well, in 2 years, is it going to be too big of a power struggle? Who am I going to go with? Because this guy wants to do more than just coach. He wants to be, he wants to buy the groceries and use the groceries and do it all. So I think that's the fine line. And some guys that's why you're getting all this. Well, for Kevin O'Connell and Jonathan Gannon, is that they're going to come in, at least right off the bat, they're like, oh, man, I got a job. I'm just going to coach. And eventually everybody wants a little more power, I guess. So trying to find that. And what is Brian going to command? It seemed like the Saints with a defense, I know they're over the cap, but damn, if they're not, the cupboard's not empty. It's a better job than this one because it's in such a state of flux with the Watson thing. Although you look at assets and salary cap, this is better. If you look at, man, where they got to go and what they're doing, how the fan base loves the team right now, then there's that one. And then you say, well, Denver, what's not to like about all of it other than finding the all-key important position, which is quarterback? Put it this way, you go to Minnesota, well, we don't have an offensive line, we got a quarterback. if it's Mike McDaniel who worked with Kyle Shanahan, who they loved Kirk Cousins in Washington, and they're there, and now the new GM apparently, is from Cleveland, is also a guy who spent 6, 7, 8 years in San Francisco when Mike was there, and he's now the GM in Minnesota, and Mike probably likes Kirk Cousins, but that job there is also, while it's good, there's a little bit like, where are we going with this? Is our quarterback too highly paid? There isn't one that's not flawed, But the Saints, their guy walked away. He didn't get fired.
Right.
So that's one where you're saying, okay, maybe there's a little more functionality there than there is here. So I think it's a good job. And listen, if you love Brian Flores, I always say, do everything you can not to let him out of the building. It's okay if you miss out. Well, the ego gets in the way with these teams. Like, well, we didn't get our number one guy, and okay, because we've got paid more or liked a different situation. But if you like them and like 8 of them, you're not doing me any good. Go find the one you love, whatever that is in your philosophy, and don't let him out of the building. If you let him out of the building, he goes somewhere else. That's your fault. That's your problem, not mine. Move on to the next one, and you may have to settle for the 4th guy on the list. So I don't believe in letting him out of the building if I love him. That's a college coach, whatever. Bring him in and have him love it so much and sell your program so much that he doesn't want to go to the Giants or the Bears or somewhere else. Flores is a hell of a head coach. The question is, can you handle a strong personality and a guy who doesn't care if you don't like him? And that's okay sometimes for a head coach.
Last on this one, Sean, is the other big question here is, can they attract a free agent quarterback or a trade, right? We've talked about Russell Wilson and Rodgers, and we've talked about Deshaun and all that. How much of a factor is not having Sean Payton? Like, how much does that weigh into a quarterback's decision? A better way to ask it is, would Russell Wilson want to come to New Orleans if Sean Payton's not here?
Depending on who the next guy is, but it weighs heavy. It is a monster. I mean, it's like you could say, well, I mean, you start to look around of anything, and it'd be the same if a quarterback left and you didn't like the coach that was the head coach, right, that was already there, and you're a free agent, and all of a sudden, let's say you weren't a big Urban Meyer fan, and all of a sudden, and they didn't draft Trevor Lawrence, but they were going on the free agent market, you're like, I couldn't stand that guy, and all of a sudden, somebody says they're offering you the most money, and you're like, oh, gosh, there's a free agent quarterback, or they're trying to trade, or they trade for me. Then what happens? So in this case, let's just say for a quarterback, Sean Payton's in that building, who wouldn't want to play for him?
Yeah.
You got a chance to win because there's some pieces in place. You got a facility that you can throw it all over the lot. You got a fanatical fan base, and they love their football as much as anywhere. And you got a coach that's going to make sure that you do some things that you're like, okay, this is what Sean Payton's the guy that brings people out of retirement, not goes into it. He's the guy that makes people stay around longer. Ask Drew Brees. So, and you get the perfect storm like that. So I think it is, put it this way, quarterbacks that would have loved to go there with Sean Payton may change their mind, like you mentioned, Russell Wilson. I would not think now, unless let's say they wanted to go Russ Wilson, they didn't have a coach and some GM, and Mickey traded for him. I wouldn't think that would be as high a priority for Russ now before they knew who the head coach was. But if Sean Payton's there, Sean Payton is he's the number one drawing card. No disrespect to fans or
Sure.
Saints history. Sean Payton was the number one drawing card, and for quarterbacks, it's a godsend. Now that he's not there, heck, now you're looking around saying, okay, who's it going to be? So it is Sean Payton walking away, and I love him. Put the franchise in a tough position to lure what they're going to want to lure to lead them to the next level, and that's going to be a tough task because the two most important positions on that team that have been over the last decade plus are both now going to be broadcasting football in 2022.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.